everyone, welcome to Art Time with Melissa. Today we're going to make a cute little pillow. It's a great project when you're first learning how to sew. Let's jump right into it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is I would take a piece of paper and just make a plan for what shape you want. So you could do a circle for a little emoji pillow, you could do a heart. I'm going to do a star this time. I've already cut out one, and now what I'm going to show you is how I cut it out. If you have chalk, tracing with chalk is really great. I usually like to make sure whatever I'm cutting on the edge so I don't waste too much fabric. And I'm cutting really slowly and carefully. So first I kind of just cut around just so that I don't have to try and cut this out while I have the huge piece of cloth. It can be a little unwieldy. And then I can just cut around each of the little areas. And if you're using small scissors, your normal craft scissors, it might be a little trickier. So what you want to do is use the back of the scissors and do little snips if you're having a hard time because your scissors maybe aren't the sharpest, aren't the newest, and they're just not up to snuff. So that can definitely be a big help. Awesome. So there, now I have 2 stars. And let me put this aside. So now I'm going to make my needle and thread. What I do with the thread is I cut off a piece that's as big as both arms, all the way stretched out. That way, when I fold this in half for the next step, it's like 1 arm's length as you're pulling. So now I'm going to thread the needle. So I'm going to put this little string through the needle head. There we go. And then at the end, I'm going to tie a knot. So I have both ends of the string and I wrap it around my finger and I put the string through the hole. And I do that again to make a couple knots on top of each other till I don't think it's going to go through when I pull it. All right, hopefully that's enough knots on top of each other. And if not, you just add another. It all depends on what cloth you're using, how thick a knot you need. So one of the tricks is I want to kind of hide this knot if I can. So I'm going to put my needle so it's on the inside of the middle one. So you see it's in between, and then I'll pull through. So now the knot's going to be hiding inside my pillow. Now there's a couple of different types of stitches. There's a running stitch where you just go up and down, and there's a whip stitch where you go around the side. I'm going to show you both. Usually you would just pick one and do that the whole time. So I'm going to start by showing you the running stitch. The running stitch, my string is sticking out of the top, and I'm going to put my needle back just a little next to where the thread came out. And now I'm on the other side. The thread's here, and I'm going to put my needle just a little bit away from where it came out. Same thing. So the thread's here, I'm going to put my needle just a little bit next to it. And this is great to show you. If you ever do this, like your thread is wrapped around something, just boop, poke it off and pull. Now you always want to make sure you're pulling the string all the way so you don't have any big loops or anything like that. Won't be as strong. So you would just go like this, putting the needle just a little bit next to where you were until you go all the way around if you're doing this type of stitch. It's really important that your stitches are small because if they're too big, then you'll have gaps and then your stuffing will stick out. We don't want our stuffing sticking out at the end. So that is the basic running stitch. So that's one option. Another option is the whip stitch. The whip stitch, you're going to pick a side and you're always going to go in that side. So I'm going to do it from the bottom. And so every time I stick in my needle, I'm going to stick in my needle from the bottom. And it kind of wraps the string around the edge of your project. Neither of these is right, neither of these is wrong. It's all your preference, what's easiest for you to do, what's easiest for you to remember. And if you forget and you end up doing both stitches, that's okay while you're learning too. But it usually looks more uniform when you do the same thing. So that's why people usually prefer to just pick one and do it the whole way. That doesn't mean you have to. So, other things to keep in mind for sewing. As I'm sewing, I'm keeping an eye on how much thread I have left, because you always want to make sure you're going to have enough to tie your knot. So I usually like as long as my hand to tie a knot. So as I'm sewing, I'm taking a look and I'm saying, okay, it's longer than my hand, so I'm good to go for now. Other things I'm keeping an eye on, I'm making sure that I'm ready to stop when I have only like a few fingers to get in, so I can get into the cloth, so I have room to stuff. So as I'm sewing, I'm thinking about those things. Wonderful. So let me get to the point where I have to do a knot, and we'll check back in. Let me sew for a minute or two. Alright, so at this point, I'm almost all the way around, so I'm going to stuff it. So if you have polyfill, that's perfect. I ran out, so I'm going to use cotton balls. So I'm going to pull apart these cotton balls a little bit, and I can just squish them right in. So I'm trying to press them so they get really into the points of the star. And I'm not too worried about stuffing it all the way so it's like super overfull, because I can always add a little bit at the end. I'm mostly worrying about the points of the star that are furthest away and trying to make sure they get a good amount of stuffing now. Because I could always add a little bit later, because I still can fit 2 fingers in here, but I want to do some more before I can only fit 1. Great. Now I'm going to keep going. And you can see I'm getting pretty close to that one hand. So in like 2 stitches, I think I'm going to be ready to tie my first knot. Let's see, one more. Great. So here is how I tie my knot. So I'm going to take my needle, and I'm going to stick it in so it's poking out. Then I'm going to take the end of my string and wrap it around the needle. 1, 2, twice. Then I pull, 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 pull. I usually do this more than once just to make really sure that I've got a good strong knot. So I stick this in, so it's sticking out. Then I take the string once, twice around the needle. Then I pull, pull, pull the needle. Perfect. Now I can cut this off, and I can make a new string to sew the last little bit. And again, make our string, woo, long as our arm. Arm's all stretched out. Cut off that little piece. Thread our needle. Take both ends, wrap it around our finger, string goes through, and tie a few knots until it's thick enough that it's not going to stick out. Perfect. Last stitches. I'm going to stick the needle on the inside so the knot will hide on the inside. Boop. And let's get wrapping this around. Perfect. So since I'm on my last couple of stitches. I can even see if I can just get a little bit more cotton in there. If I can squish a little bit more in to make it extra fluffy. If you can't, don't worry about it. Perfect. This is also good a time if your knots are trying to stick out, make sure you're poking them in. Alright, almost there, last couple of stitches. And when you're done, if you want to add decoration with a marker or some like fabric paint or maybe hot gluing something on, you can absolutely add decorations in lots of fun ways. There we go. Time to tie my knot. So again, let's stick your needle in, take your string and go around, and pull. Ooh, and I got a little loop. Sometimes if you get a little loop or something, you can try and see if you pull one side of the string or the other side of the string, if it'll come loose. Sometimes it's just that I got stuck on something. Oh, good. That was it. That fixed it. You learn lots of little tricks. And always, by the way, keep safety in mind. So I'm not pulling this like towards my face. I'm pulling it away from my face. And if someone was over here, I would not pull it that way. Make sure you're pulling away from people. All right, and then I snip off my string now that I've tied my knot. And I can cut off any loose threads. And that is it. I hope you have so much fun, and I hope you love your little pillow. Who knows what it'll be for? Maybe a doll, maybe for an action figure. Who knows? But I hope you have a great time, and I'll see you next one. Bye.